This short video is for you if you are on your fourth or fifth or 12th, maybe, draft of your memoir, and you keep spinning around the same chapters. Every time you open up your manuscript on your laptop, overwhelm clouds out any creative spark that you might have had. You look at that total word count, and while it might look impressive, you don't actually know how to take those words from messy and incoherent to clear, concise, and impactful. I've worked with dozens of writers just like you, and here's the secret that no one has told you yet. Finishing your memoir has nothing to do with how much time you have or even how well you write. In this short video, I'm going to walk you through the 3 hidden reasons you still haven't finished your memoir and how to start shifting out of them right now. Reason 1, you are editing for perfection instead of clarity. You think that if you can just get those sentences to sound right, that you'll love your manuscript and feel proud of your writing. You're spending your time fiddling with the words. You want to find that perfect turn of phrase. You're obsessing over which word works best in that sentence. You're reading paragraphs and sentences over and over. And while you might be at your computer for a couple of hours, your manuscript is more or less in the same place as it was yesterday. But you cannot polish a confusing manuscript. Without a clear through line that connects your ideas, it will not matter how well you write. Your draft will still be a mess. What I see more than anything with writers who come to me asking for help is that they are prioritizing the wrong things. It won't do you any good to fiddle with sentences, even paragraphs, if you are not sure what that chapter is doing for the story. So if you're concerned about a messy manuscript, it's time to zoom out and look at the overall flow of the story. Do the scenes flow together? Are your transitions seamless? What is the emotional load like for the reader? When you zoom out and aim for clarity before you turn on perfectionist mode, you will spot the missing puzzle pieces that you didn't realize were there. It's like when you're working on a jigsaw puzzle and you can't find the right pieces to fit together, but then you step away from the table and notice a handful of pieces off to the side that you'd missed. Then everything clicks into place and you fast track your progress. So you're not bad at writing, friend. This isn't about what you're actually writing. You've just lost the point of your story. So instead of asking yourself, does this sound right here? Start with the question, does this serve my point? Which leads us to reason 2 you haven't finished. You don't actually know what you're trying to say. This leads to such a creative spiral because what happens when you don't know what you're trying to say is that you just keep writing more and more, or you keep editing the same chapters over and over, thinking that if you just spend more time inside of your draft, you'll eventually figure it out. The thread of your story, or the point, the message, the thesis, there's so many words for that, but it isn't going to appear after you write or even while you're writing. It's actually probably already there somewhere in the thousands of words that you've poured out. You just have to pause and go inward to find it. I know that you want to zoom in, put your head down and finish, but until you can pause, think big picture about what you're actually trying to say, you're just going to create more versions of the same mess. When I work with writers, the biggest obstacle that I see is that they don't actually know what they're trying to say, or their message is far too general or broad to give real clarity to their work. For example, maybe you're writing about your childhood home, your marriage, or that one big turning point, and to you, it's clear why it's important. It's obvious. You don't need to explain it. It's obvious why that's important. But the truth is that your reader isn't going to connect and find that same meaning unless you know why it's important to them. This happens all the time, and it happens because you as the author are thinking about why you care about your story, not about why your reader should care. And that's a big perspective shift that you get to make. The fun part, though, is that once you know what your story is actually doing for your reader, you will know what needs to be rewritten, what needs refining. Every edit and rewrite from this point on will bring you more clarity, and it will pull your memoir into greater focus. Reason 3, you are too close to your story to see what is missing. Writing is an interesting activity because it's an inherently solitary act, but publishing is a collaborative one. You do know, though, that you need support because otherwise you wouldn't be here watching this video. So here's the reframe that will completely change how you move through edits and rewrites. You don't know what you don't know, and so you get to find support. One of the tricky parts of memoir writing is that you're as close as you could possibly get to the story. You've lived it, you know every single detail and connection that made this experience what it was for you. And that can lead to serious blind spots. That's one of the reasons why feedback can be really helpful and important, especially from an editing professional, is that they can point out those blind spots. But while feedback can be helpful, you also need reflection to go along with that feedback. Feedback from a professional is going to point out what's not working, and reflection on the tail end of that will help you see your work with new perspectives so that you can actually identify why that chapter or paragraph or scene isn't working. Reflection allows you to take that feedback and look at it objectively, and it gets you out of your own head. This is actually one of the most important benefits to working with an editing professional, is that we know how to ask you the right questions to get you thinking more clearly about the feedback that you have. So it's not that you're failing to fix your manuscript. It's just that you're too close to your story on your own to know what's working and what's not. Every great author has a support person to mirror back to them their blind spots. And this isn't so that an editor can rewrite for you, but rather so that they can help you see your own work with more objectivity and more clarity. When you can dig into reflection instead of just surface feedback about what your blind spots are, then you'll feel that confidence return and your creativity wake up again, and you'll be able to start filling in those gaps and making sure that everything connects to your reader. So as I was sketching out this video, I realized that there was actually a fourth reason why your memoir isn't working. So I'm tacking this on as a little bonus. You've lost your voice. I see this with almost every writer that I've worked with at some point. You've lost your spark. Writing doesn't feel fun or creative anymore. It's just something that you're doing because you feel like you should. Or it's something that you're avoiding because you don't want to and you still feel like you should. You've been consuming so much outside noise that you've actually drowned yourself out. Even the fact that you're here watching this video tells me that you are not as tapped into your own voice and story as you want to be. And I'll just throw this question out there for you to sit with. Did you write before you watched this video? If so, awesome. If not, let's maybe think about how to better rework your writing process, your creative process, so that you can start to create before you consume. Because what happens when we consume before we create is that it's so much easier to lose your voice, and then you stop trusting your own creative instincts. Maybe you've started looking for an editor to help you save your story, but the truth is that no one can hand you back your voice. My job as an editor is to help you amplify your voice, but I cannot fake it for you. Trusting your voice only comes from reconnecting with what you actually believe about your story and what it's here to say to your reader. You don't need to sound like anyone else, friend. Your memoir doesn't need to read like anyone else's. The version of your memoir that will truly connect with readers is the one that only you could write. When you trust your own voice again, your creativity comes back online and your writing starts to feel alive again. Finishing your memoir will feel inevitable because you know exactly what you're here to do. If you've been like so many writers who come to me for help, you've been procrastinating, avoiding your draft, trying to convince yourself maybe that you don't really care about finishing, now you know why. This has nothing to do with how well you write, how valuable your story is, or even how much time you have or don't have. You're not lazy. You don't even have writer's block. You're just disconnected from your story's point. You're too close to see what's missing, and you're too hard on yourself to trust your own creative sparks. The good news here is simple, though. You can reconnect to your story, to the point, to the message, and it won't take months and months of a rewrite to do so. This is exactly why I created my Chapter 1 Jumpstart Challenge. In 5 days, it will take just one chapter of your memoir and bring it back to life. You'll rediscover your voice, your through line, and your confidence as a writer. Check my website for the next live round of the Jumpstart Challenge, and I'll see you there.